Hi, welcome back. This is John, and today we're talking about concatenation and escape sequences in Java. So, concatenation has to do with characters and, in the future, strings. So, we know about the char type, which can hold a single character. So, let's just say hold Z. A char type is a char literal, and it's displayed here as a name, the type, and what you put into it using the assignment operator. This here is terminator, ends the line, lets you know that this is the extent of what you want to operate on. Okay, now what can be very useful is concatenation, which means adding characters or strings together. At its base core, it just means that it's adding characters. However, concatenation can be overloaded with different classes like the string class, which will make it seem like two strings are being connected. And what do I mean by that? So let's say we create a char called char1, char2, char3. And then let's just set these chars to have some kind of data member in them. So for convenience, we'll just put a char 3 xyz into these chars. Now when you do a system out, it'd be very inconvenient to write 3 separate system out to print out xyz. So one way you can concatenate is like this. Right? Which this would then display char1 is Z, there's a space, char2 is Y, space, char3 is X, and this would be your display. Now you can use this with a lot of various different strings, and also with the string class for an actual string object. So if you wanted to, you could put some kind of message in here, some kind of text of some sort, or you could just omit this entirely and just use chars completely. But the concatenation is pretty much an overloaded plus operator, which allows you to string different chars to strings to strings to strings, and helps when you're trying to create different text elements within your program. Another way in particular, what's really nice about concatenation is with the strings, because with string methods, so we'll talk about that just for a second. So there's a class called string, declared as string, and we'll just say my string. And you can make my string hold different things, because the difference is a string can hold a lot of different characters. Right? That's what makes the class so unique. It's a collection of chars within this class, but it does all the work for you, so you can just immediately say like that. But what if you want to quickly add to this string? What if you want to say a name? So let's just say John with a space, hello world. Well, rather than that could be really difficult. Let's say hello world and then put John afterwards. So we'll just do this. Plus equals John. And so then it'll add this to what's already there at the end, and you'll get the entire message, hello world John, saved into my string. So you can just use a plus equals to add to a string, which is very, very useful. And it works the same way in a system out print line, abbreviation. You can also use strings to concatenate as well. Now, escape sequences we'll go over really briefly. So one thing about strings and in chars is, let's say, what if you want to print out these characters? Right? So this character in particular, because that's used to call the escape sequence. This one, because there's only the 3. Yeah, this one here was let's say you want to call a string. If you go like this will end it, right? And then this will become a string, and then this one will be looking for another quote. Same with this, same problem. If you put one in between, this one terminates it, and this one will look for another one. So you need an escape sequence to actually write out that character. So the backward slash is how you initiate escape sequences. So you just do backslash quotation, and that would be a quotation literal. Our backslash single quotation would be a single quotation literal, and would print out this as if it was text, rather than look for another quotation or single quotation. Similarly, a double backslash is a backslash literal, because this is an escape sequence. So it lets you actually print out the backslash. Then you have some useful escape sequences, such as other useful T, which inserts a tab, which is according to the device, and the window in program. N is new line, and R is return to the beginning. So I'll go over these briefly. Tab creates the tab space that people are used to, like in different various document programs. New line lets you drop down to new line. So let's say you have a long text, rather than having it all on the maximum space that the line provides, you can cut it off to make it more readable. And then beginning, this one in particular is a little more rare, but it could still be useful. Let's say you're writing it out and then you want to insert something here, it would go back to the beginning and write it out, or even overload it if you wish, rewrite it. But it goes back to the beginning and inserts it at that location. Which is quite nice if you want to stay on one line, because then you can consistently just rewrite that line over and over and over again, rather than dropping down to line to line to line, which you could do as a text-based game, I suppose. Because in text-based games, if you were to just write out code after code after code after code, people could go back and just read what they saw, and then they just use that later on, and so on and so forth. But also too, it's about memory storage, because what if you have something that goes on like forever and ever and ever and ever and ever? It'll start getting really annoying after a while, because you're like, why is all this information being used? I don't need it anymore. And so you can return back, get rid of it immediately, and just rewrite on the same line. But to overview, concatenation just means the adding of chars or strings. You can also add to itself for a string using the plus equal, which is overloaded. These are overloaded themselves. You can also add to other string literals, which allows you to do a lot of quick text features. Then there's the escape sequence, which is with a backslash, which is T, N, R for tab, new line, and return, and additional for double quotation literal, single quotation literal, and a backslash literal, so that the program understands that you actually want the character to be printed out to the screen. Thank you for stopping by, and hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.